Hey.
Hey.
How you doing?
Doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. What did we watch?
Metallic Rouge.
Metallic Rouge. So,
I'm going to let you describe it.
Because, oh, no, I was going to have you describe it.
Oh, no. It's never good to have me describe it.
Oh, no.
And I think with this one, I'd be worse than usual because...
So, this anime is not based on a manga. No. It is an original anime made for the 25th anniversary of Studio Bones. Studio Bones was actually created by some of the members of Sunrise Studios that did Cowboy Bebop. And so, these guys who worked on Cowboy Bebop created this studio, and they've had a lot of success. They, of course, do My Hero Academia and Mob Psycho and a bunch of other stuff. They made this original anime, and the reason I bring up Sunrise Studios and Cowboy Bebop is this definitely feels like a Cowboy Bebop / Ghost in the Shell sort of thing. Like, this is a show very much rooted in cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm. And the characters have that kind of Cowboy Bebop aesthetic.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll do my best describing it, okay? You ready?
Do your best.
It takes place in the future. Yeah. And there are... Oh, where do I start? Okay, so it takes place in the future, and it's set on Mars.
Right.
And much like Cowboy Bebop, Mars has been terraformed, colonized, and people live there. Okay? Now, there is a slave race of synthetic people that live there on Mars that basically do all the, servant work for the humans. Think of them like the replicants from Blade Runner, and they sort of look a lot like the Detroit Being Human.
Detroit Become Human,
yeah, robots.
Yeah, they're very distinguishable from humans. They've got little lines on their faces. In
the first episode, they really showcase the fact that they're very vulnerable and they need this drug to survive every day. And if they don't get it, they die and they get thrown in the trash heap. So it's very dark. Dystopia, cyberpunk type show. It kind of actually reminded me a lot of Blade Runner 2049. Yeah. Something between Blade Runner 2049, Blade Runner, and Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah. The synthetic humans are called Neens, which I don't think they ever gave a reason for that.
No, that's just the name they gave them. Our main character, whose name is Rouge, she's also synthetic, but she's a special synthetic that has superpowers and essentially she can change her form into this kind of cool cyber suit, sort of like a Guyver suit, or it kind of actually looks like one of those suits from Tiger and Bunny.
Yeah.
She is essentially tracking these other super synths like herself.
Yeah, once they don't have the lines on them, they look like humans. People think they're humans.
So called the Immortal Nine, and she's hunting them for this group, this organization, and she's teamed up with Naomi, who's sort of
she's like Watchtower.
She's like Watchtower. She's also her handler, right? And they're hunting these other robots, and that's that is the basic plot. Right?
One of the other interesting things with the Neens is that they all function. They've all been programmed with the Asimov code, so they cannot harm humans.
Right.
And that is a very important part of it. Whereas the 9 that our main character is hunting down can.
Yes.
Because they don't have that code in them.
Yeah, and the 9 are also called the Alters. So
yeah.
So let me just stop there, okay? And let me tell you how I feel about this show, okay? So we're okay, so we gotta watch Metallic Rouge. It's on a bunch of lists, right? Episode 1, we get finished. I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch this show.
Yeah, it was like I watched it and I was like, okay, there's something about this. It reminds me of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, the Ghost in the Shell TV show.
Yeah.
But without a character that I particularly love and really want to follow.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh man, it didn't have the charm of that, and it felt so harsh.
Episode 1 is the most charmless single episode of an anime I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's like Rouge is such an innocent. She has no character.
Yeah.
Naomi is not really likable until midway into the season.
Yeah.
So first episode, I didn't love it. Didn't want to watch it, right? Second episode is just info dump the episode.
Yeah.
Second episode, they clarify more stuff with the Neens. Clarify more stuff about the Alters, which are also the Immortal Nine. And then they get into the aliens that came to Earth hundreds of years ago, gave Earthlings their technology.
The visitors.
And help them terraform Mars. And then they get into the usurpers.
Which are the other aliens that came to Earth and tried to take over.
And then that the Neens were created by the humans and also the visitors so that they could fight in the war against the... And I was just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I was like, it's like a full sci-fi novel of information in one single episode.
Yeah.
I was, by the end of episode 2, I was furious.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing to me?
But we're always like, hey, you were the one that insisted on this one.
No, you were.
No, you were.
Okay, well, whatever.
Anyways,
it's a done deal now.
But we always go, but we have to watch 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So episode 3.
Episode 3, they infiltrate a Neen city, right? Rouge gets in there. Halfway through, I'm like, I was literally about to stop it and say, I can't do anymore. Okay, I can't. Okay?
Yeah.
But then the second half of the 3rd episode, I was like, okay, well, that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay? But I was like, I'm willing to do maybe one more. But then I think we're done.
Yeah.
Okay? So I watched the 4th episode, and I was like, oh no, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of snowballed that about the 6th episode, I was like, damn, we got to finish this show because it just got that interesting. And it was really like, it's the anime equivalent of like eating all your vegetables first so you can get to dessert.
Yeah.
It was like, it's so much work in the first 3 episodes to set everything up that it's almost like you're reading a textbook for a made up world.
Honestly, like the good thing is it's at least not one of those where it's like, well, you just have to get through the first season.
It's totally.
No, you have to get through those first few episodes that are, like you said, a huge info dump. It's not that they're not good.
Yeah.
It's just that it's hard to love them.
It's just like work. I mean, they are all talking about everything that's going on as if like you should already know what's happening.
Yeah.
There's no good way of describing it. Like I feel like in the Dune movie, the last one Denis Villeneuve did, he did a really good job of setting up the different houses, the Fremen, Arrakis. I think they took the time to set it up in a way that still also gave time for character.
Yeah.
There's no time for character.
No.
It's like, and then there's this, and then these people, and then there's this, and then that happened, and and now we have to do this, and I'm just like, stop.
While also being like, but we're also really philosophical about like what is slavery and what is like
what is life?
Yeah.
What does this mean?
Yeah, what is freedom?
I know. And so like basically though, it's funny. So now that we've kind of gone over that, I did actually end up liking this show.
Yeah.
But I will say the reason that I started with talking about Sunrise Studios, talking about Cowboy Bebop, talking about Ghost in the Shell, is I realized about 75% into the show, the reason I'm having so much trouble with this is because it's like the anime we used to watch when we started watching anime. It is more like the Ghost in the Shell film, Witch Hunter Robin, Trigun, these like early 2000 anime that are very much into the lore of what they're doing and kind of slow, and there'll be like one action set piece.
You're
like, think about Witch Hunter Robin or ROD.
Right.
Like, it's hard to like catch on to these characters.
Yes and no. I don't know. I feel like all of those, they gave you something more to like latch onto with the characters, like from episode 1 or at least episode 2.
Yeah, well, especially ROD is a movie, so so that one's still a little tough.
Yeah, I feel like all of them, they like you said, Rouge, your main character in this, she's so innocent. She's like, and so like you said, there is no character to her like until like episode 5, practically, and so like that's just frustrating. There are some side characters that come in that you're like, well, I can, I at least like this guy, or like, but. I think in a lot of those other ones, they at least give you something that's really intriguing about the main character or something really likable about the main character that makes you, like, latch onto them. I mean, like, Cowboy Bebop and Trigun, you're immediately attached to the characters.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, what funny enough is my favorite character in the whole show is a bad guy. It's that Galleon character.
Yeah, he's sort insane.
He's sort of like the Joker meets Loki.
Yeah,
where he's like this shapeshifter and he's like evil and he like, or like that guy. He's also like that guy Joker from Fire Force.
Yeah, well,
and he just shows up to cause trouble.
That's the thing. He just wants to be entertained.
But he was the only person who actually was entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, every time he showed up, I'm like, oh, thank God, someone with personality showed up.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is just, like, zero personality. Everyone is not only a robot, but acts as if they're a robot.
Yeah.
You know, except for Naomi. Naomi does, but Naomi's also, like, she's just there to either, like, make fun of Rouge or give her orders.
Yeah.
Like, there was very little... Now, I will say...
There is character growth, though. With all of these characters, there's major character growth, and they become more interesting throughout. By the way, the episode that I think really got us into it was also the most insane episode, I think. Like, because half of it is a fever dream of the main character.
Yes.
And so, like, if you are watching it, you're going to get to an episode, you're going to be like, I don't even know what's going on here, but it's also really well done.
It's really interesting.
So,
yeah. No, it kind of reminds me of like this sort of memory montage that Spike Spiegel goes through, the rose falling on the ground and the rain. It's like that for an entire episode. But it had that like carnival stuff and it got really interesting and it just became more interesting.
Yeah.
It is very much for a very certain audience. If you are looking for adult characters, adult subjects, if you like hard sci-fi, if you like cyberpunk, I think it's really cool that the two leads are both female.
It's got some good music.
It's got great music. The music is really good. But it's a show that takes work.
It does, yeah. And it's not like so many of the other shows that we've watched, that we've talked about have been so fun.
Yeah.
They've just filled us with joy.
Yeah.
This one did not. Like,
no.
And like, that doesn't mean that it's not good. Like, not all shows need to fill you with joy.
Yeah.
You know, that certainly wasn't the purpose of this one. But like, yeah, it is work to watch it, and not necessarily in a bad way, but like, yeah, it's not my favorite style.
This is a show that you have to kind of make an investment into, but like you said, if you like Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, it's like very close to that.
Yeah.
If you're really into all the like philosophical, like talky bits of Ghost in the Shell, I don't care about philosophy. I'm not a philosophy person. It's fine if you love it. I don't. I'm just let's get to the action.
Same goes for like Blade Runner. You know, it's like, are you in it for the philosophy or are you in it for the cool like cyberpunk?
I will say though, it's a 13 episode season. I thought the final 4 episodes were excellent.
But honestly, starting with like episode like 6, it really starts getting
really good. Yeah,
I think 5 was the crazy one.
Yeah.
And so like that one's the one where you're like, oh, this is something interesting. Like so from episode 6 on, it's good. But yeah, the last 4 are something special.
They almost play out, because they did this build, it almost plays out like a movie, the last 4, and I really love them. It feels like a divisive anime.
Yeah.
Because it's so slow to start, and it's like so many of the characters are tough to really love.
Well, I appreciate that it's so different than so many of the other ones that came out this year. That being said, you know, Apothecary Diaries also had some like dealt with some like rougher subjects and like had some philosophical things to it, but it also had a lot of fun and character that you're like that you're with from episode 1. You know?
Yeah. There's almost no humor. There was one moment of humor I remember in the whole show, and it was very funny. And I was almost like, oh, I wish the show was more like this, but I also feel like,
but it doesn't.
It's such a serious tone.
Yeah.
The show. Oh, the character designer was the character designer on Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of the people look like they Cowboy Bebop.
And you know, it ends in a place where there could be a season 2, but there also doesn't need to be. You know, and like it gives you like the philosophical stuff of like where it leaves off, and it's like, you can make your own decisions of how this is going to end, or they could go in and do another season like next year or something.
I doubt there'll be a season 2.
I don't
just
think
because I feel like every original anime now, for the most part, like I really think you need to start as a fairly popular manga or webcomic to really have legs.
Yeah.
And I also think, honestly, like almost everything that's really big stars teenagers.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even Solo Leveling, like he's pretty close to the age of a teenager.
Yeah.
He's a little older, but
But I appreciate the ones that are like, no, we've got a story, we're gonna tell it in a season. Like Bravern, you know? Bravern did a great job. Buddy Daddies,
yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, even like some of the OGs we love, like Death Note, you know.
It was a really good show once you get into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, but like we said, I think it's for a more specific audience. I don't think it'll get like the general attention of everyone.
No.
You know?
Okay, so what is your favorite science fiction themed anime? Let us know in the comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. And thanks, guys. My favorite part is when everyone's like, oh, do you think this girl, Rouge Red Star, could possibly be this red robot we're looking for? And
no, like, nah, definitely not.
Nah, Rouge Red Star doesn't sound right.